The U.S. is backing our ally Britain in a worldwide expulsion of Russian diplomats in response to the poisoning of an ex-Russian spy on British soil. Moscow vows retaliation, but how does all this jibe with the popular narrative that President Trump has been favoring the Russians? Here now is Claudia Rosett, a foreign policy fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, and more importantly for our purposes here, a former Wall Street Journal bureau chief in Moscow. So, Claudia, you have this expulsion. You have a meeting next week with the Baltic leaders, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. This is a region that Russia's had its eye on for possible invasion in the future. You have the arming of Ukrainians to defend themselves in a way that we didn't have under Obama. And, of course, you had the Tomahawk missile strike against the Russian puppets in Syria. In my eyes, what's happened with Russia in the past year has been harder than what happened in 8 years of President Obama. Am I wrong?
You're right. You're absolutely right. The problem is that President Trump has to correct the 8 years of deference and appeasement under President Obama.
So how does he? I don't think he's going to do that simply by expelling a couple of diplomats. I mean, I know this is the European way of doing things. They think it works, but then Russia goes into the Ukraine no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to stop the use of chemical weapons when they want to. It's not really going to stop anything.
So what has to be done? What is going to be the real hammer? I mean, frankly, if a couple of hundred Tomahawk missiles don't do it, I don't know what will.
Well, more Tomahawk missiles. Actually, David, look, the answer I will say is bring down the government of North Korea, and Russia would really think twice, because the big problem is reestablishing the credibility of American deterrence. That's what was squandered during the Obama years. And President Putin doesn't think we'll do anything that would really hurt him. And, you know, preferably we don't fight a war, but we have to convince him that we're prepared to do that again.
All right. Well, you brought up North Korea. There's even more evidence that the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, made a secret trip to China. There was a dark green train with a very distinctive yellow stripe. Do you see that yellow stripe there? That's the same kind of locomotive that his father used to use on his overseas trip. It was spotted in the northeastern corner of China over the weekend. It can't be confirmed that Kim was on board, but all signs seem to point to his presence. What do you think, Claudia?
Well, look, we don't know if he was on board, but what I think we can be pretty sure of, there's one thing that I think did surprise Kim Jong-un. That was when President Trump just said, yes, I'll meet him at a summit. I think he wasn't expecting that. And what he's trying to do, whether he was on the train or not, is because North Korea still hasn't actually officially confirmed this invitation. They've let South Korea carry the water. So Kim Jong-un is, I think, trying to walk it back to the point where he can play this to his advantage, where they can play it again. And what he may be doing is trying to bring in China and turn it from what I think Trump had and President Trump had in mind, a direct, you give up your nuclear weapons or else, into another protracted haggling thing involving China and Russia. He's sending his foreign minister to Russia, which would play to his advantage, not ours. And
very quickly, is China forcing Kim's hand because of the tariffs that we have pledged to put against China? Is that working?
I actually don't think so, David. I think in the short term, China might make a great display of that, but I don't think that is going to get rid of Kim Jong-un's nuclear program. I think China is going to try and manage us. And I fear that they may, if we let this play out as a bargain, that's what will happen. The best thing going for us right now is that Ambassador John Bolton is coming in to head the Security Council. Mike Pompeo will be at the State Department. Is that I think will have an administration that is staffed by people who understand North Korea's games.
Hard to pull the wool over John Bolton's eyes. Claudia Rosett, thank you very much. Good to see you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.